With each game in the series, the Splatoon series has introduced plenty of game-changing features. Splatoon 2 gave us massive changes for weapon classes, like vertical flicks for rollers and charge holds for chargers. Splatoon 1 introduced, well, Splatoon as a whole. All of these ginormous changes bring us to Splatoon 3, whose biggest claim to fame is, well, it's not as obvious. While Splatoon 3 is definitely a huge improvement from Splatoon 1 and 2, it's just not in one massive way like the other two games. Instead, Splatoon 3 introduces a million small but important changes, like being able to practice in the lobby between matches, by far the best special design in the entire series, and too many quality of life upgrades to even list. All of these additions pile up to create, in my humble opinion, by far the best Splatoon game in the series. But of all of these additions, one seems to be almost never talked about, despite being one of, if not the coolest addition to the entire Splatoon series. But before I tell you what it is, please remember to like and subscribe. It's free and helps you see more content like this. That addition is squid rolls. Introduced in Splatoon 3, squid rolls are a universal movement technique that allows you to quickly switch directions while swimming in your ink. Squid rolls can be used to evade enemies and perform jumps in difficult to navigate terrain. They can even be used while swimming on walls. This can be really useful to reach high terrain and evade enemies. Okay, I know what you're probably thinking right now. You know what a squid roll is. It was one of the first things shown off when Splatoon 3 was revealed, and it's quite literally on the back of the game's box. But there's one detail about squid rolls I've forgotten to mention. Most people don't even seem to know that it exists. Have you ever noticed every time you do a squid roll, your character glows for a second? You may think it's there just to look cool, but it does have a purpose. For that split second that your character is glowing, they have an armor effect applied to them. The armor can protect you from one enemy attack, kind of like how ink armor worked in Splatoon 2. Keep in mind that inklings and octolings have 100 total health. While the armor is active, any attack that does under 100 damage will be completely negated. So if a slosher hits you with a 70 damage attack while the armor is activated, you will take no damage because the attack does less than 100 damage. Successfully deflecting an attack with squid roll armor is called parrying. However, parrying does not make you invincible. Even if you successfully parry an attack that does over 100 damage, you'll still take some damage. If you're hit by a 160 damage splat charger shot while the armor is activated, you'll still take a chunk of damage, since the armor only protects against 100 points of damage. If you subtract 100 damage for the 160 damage charger shot, then we can find out that you'll take 60 damage. While you would survive the attack if you're at full health, if you've taken enough damage before being hit with the charger shot, you would be splatted. Don't let this discourage you though. Parrying can allow players to tank almost every main weapon attack in the game. The majority of weapons in Splatoon do well under 100 damage in one shot, so parrying is almost always worth it against them. Plus, you can still use parrying to survive one-shotting attacks like blaster directs, charger shots, and more. Parries aren't just useful to deal with main weapons though. They can even allow you to survive the lethal explosion of bombs. My point is that if you can think of it, you can probably parry it. The world is your parrying oyster. There are a few situations where parrying will never work though. If you try to parry an attack that does over 200 damage, you'll be splatted. Attacks that do over 200 damage are extremely rare though, and are pretty much reserved exclusively for a few specials. These include the inside hits of Trizuka, Triple Splashdown, and Reef Slider. These are the only 200 plus damage attacks in the game, so don't worry too much about parrying them. Okay, random tangent, but in the beginning of
Splatoon 3,
the inside hit of Reef Slider used to do only 180 damage. This meant that you could survive the explosion of a Reef Slider with a squid roll. Since Reef Slider is relatively slow, it was pretty easy to consistently do. This meant your entire special could be countered by swimming and pressing the jump button. Thankfully, Reef Slider was buffed to do 220 damage instead of 180. Reef Slider players truly don't know how good they have it now. Anyways, there are a few other downsides that parrying can have. As a result, parrying is not nearly as effective against rapid fire attacks as ink armor was. Where parries do shine though is against slow, predictable weapons like blasters, sloshers, and chargers. These weapons fire slowly enough that you can predict and react to their attacks with a parry. Lethal bombs always take the same amount of time to explode. This makes it very reliable to parry them. Back in Splatoon 1 and 2, players could find themselves in life or death situations, like a splat bomb being rolled at your feet, a fully charged E-liter staring into your soul, or a blaster that's in your face about to one-shot you. With parries in Splatoon 3, you have one last chance to survive these unwinnable situations, but of course, you need near perfect timing. Since parries basically let you cheat death, they're extremely valuable. Successfully landing a parry is difficult. Parrying is a high-risk option, the Hail Mary of Splatoon. It's your last result in an unwinnable situation. The next time you hop on Splatoon, try parrying. At first, you may not manage to land any, but when the stars finally align and you manage to land that perfectly timed parry, the feeling is unmatched. Remember to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.